Hello, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for hanging out. Our schedule, I tried to take into account the later hours of E3 this year, and yeah, there's still a lot of time to drive back here and get settled and everything. And so apologies for being a little bit later. So what we're gonna do tonight, we're gonna start it off with impressions of two games, and then
Two big games.
Two big games. And then we're going to go into the Easy Allies podcast live. And then after the podcast, we have at least 8 more games that are huge that we have to talk about tonight before we go anywhere. Before we can sleep.
Delirium setting in.
Yeah. So we are going to start it off with, Sekiro. Shadows die twice. And to give you the context, this worked out a little bit weirder. The communication was a little strange on this, with what the different appointments ended up being. So Brad and I got to see a full demo that they brought. Ben and Brandon got to see part of the demo, but you got to talk to Miyazaki.
Yes.
So,
and he gave some good information.
Yeah. Miyazaki was not anywhere near my demo.
Yeah, I didn't get him.
So yeah, I mean, I think the thing that first stands out to me is that while there are definitely like elements of Souls games, like the amount of danger, like the fact that you need to parry enemies, that like each and every single enemy is dangerous, and having multiple enemies is dangerous. It doesn't really feel that much like a Souls game. There's so much more verticality.
Yep.
In there, it's like these stealth moments where you like have to like hold up against a wall and like wait for somebody to come in, and then you can just like stab them in the neck. And that was not like a warrior. That was like there was like this old woman, basically, like this priestess.
Yeah.
They're like, if she spots you, she's gonna scream, and like the guys are gonna come running.
Whoa, Left 4 Dead.
Yeah, pretty much. He's like, yeah, you said like she's gonna summon every enemy in the area and you're gonna die.
Yeah,
like, oh my God.
There's like a ledge hang thing, like is like straight out of Uncharted, where like a guy comes over to the ledge.
I told him.
Grab him.
I asked specifically. I uttered the words Tenshu in his presence.
But yeah, with the grappling hook, there's a lot of like just get on top of rooftops.
Yep.
Drop down on people.
Use it to get out of dangerous situations.
Yeah,
Like if you
sure.
find yourself being overwhelmed by enemies, don't try to stay there. Get out, reassess the situation, maybe attack from above. Yeah, very, very, very mobile combat.
There is a dedicated jump button.
Yes.
Yep. So you could fight a guy and then you could jump in the air and do air attacks, Jones.
And not only is that, but there are these moments where like you'll get like a flash, like danger, like you can't dodge this, you can't block this. You need to jump over that guy's blade as it swings towards you.
And the enemies are jumping too. And I wonder if that's just kind of to encourage you to do that, or just to follow. You know, there was a lot of like jumping and downward slashing.
Yeah, but
It's not something you typically see enemies do in those types of games.
But the amount, just overall, the amount of verticality. You know, like, I feel like we just sort of made up that word at some point, but there's a lot of it here, and there's a lot of different ways to approach how you go through a level.
Yeah.
And speaking of, because one of the things that jumped out at me was Arkham. You know, when you know the places where you can jump are specifically tied to ledges. And I was a little nervous because when we were interviewing him, he said there are going to be specific spots that you can grapple to. This is not like, and I believe this was, correct me if I'm wrong, Hubert, Asylum started that way, where it was like specific spots, and then it was later Arkham games that did the slide, where like the circle would follow along the ledge and you could just go to any point. These are very specific spots that you can go to. And I thought, that sounds kind of limiting. I wonder where those are, or if it creates kind of a linear situation. And I was not worried from what I saw.
Yeah, I saw them grappling to a bunch of different things.
You can easily get to where you want to go.
A lot of rooftops for sure, but then the tree limbs and things like that.
Miyazaki was one of the most articulate speakers I've ever seen during an interview, which was quite something. And I asked him what was the spark for making this game, and he gave a lot with that explanation, but the two words that really stuck out that I thought were brilliant together is he said, this is a game about killing ingeniously. And that, I think that really came across in the demo. Even in the most basic encounter, your enemies have so many different types of attacks, and you have so many tools that you could use, and you have to know exactly how they function, because there's some startup on all of these things, and so you have to really think about what you're doing. You have to be aware of the positioning as well, and you have to get in the air to kill fools.
I pumped them for information in this demo.
We got a lot of information.
No one else was asking any questions except me. I'm not like maybe one guy asked one question. Otherwise, everyone looked at me to ask questions.
That's funny.
They're like, this is the Souls retro.
Yeah, so I was like, found out the world, specifically, the world is like Dark Souls 1. He used Dark Souls 1 explaining how the world is set up, so it's like interconnected and everything like that.
Oh, that's good, because I was definitely getting a vibe that it was a bit more linear from the way the demo kind of played out. So that's good to know that you will be actually able to do some backtracking and stuff.
And he mentioned the grappling hook and exploration specifically, with how much you'd be able to find, the just completely new paths forward, and you'd be able to find, by using the grappling hook to explore, you'd be able to find items that would specifically help you with character progression.
I asked them to get in depth about that, and it's pretty much the arm that you have, your fake arm, your ninjutsu arm or whatever. Yeah, you were getting things through that by
Shinobi
finding,
prosthetic.
Yeah.
Is what it's referred to.
Could you do a deep dive on the combat? I just want to get in on it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
so there's a system that they called posture.
Yeah.
When they were talking to me about it. And so basically, when you block an enemy's attack, you reduce their posture. And I think like after a while, like you
it's vice versa
put
too.
them in a more a more vulnerable state.
So it's like a poise break kind of thing. So there's a meter, and it also goes to you. So if you hit them with your sword, their meter kind of goes up. We couldn't see anything like that. They had the HUD turned off. I don't know if you'll be able to see in the game, kind of thing like that. But also, if you block at the exact right time, it'll reverse that back onto them. So they'll throw that in there. And when you do that, they kind of get in the vulnerable state that you would see, like when you parry a guy in a Souls game like that, and you can do some sick visceral attack. We saw
you mean the thing where he rotated around the guy and stabbed him in the back?
Because he did a move where the guy did a thrusting attack, and he dodged it, and he ran up its blade or something like that. And I was like, what the hell just happened right there? And they're like, well, we're not going to tell you everything about it. We said something about you could run up weapons depending on the attacks and stuff like that.
And the finishing moves have that glorious samurai just
just
blood spray.
Yep. And there will be points. There's this red point where it's okay, I now know that I can perform a finishing move on an enemy. But Brad and Blood, you talk about reducing their posture, and we were talking about the grappling hook. You want to use that to get out of a tricky situation, but it feels like when you do choose to engage, you can't play a hit and run. You can play a hit and run sword and board style, but it seems like all of the mechanics are not reinforcing that. It's no, you really need to learn how to parry. You need to be as close to the enemy as possible at all times, and the way that you're going to succeed is not by just constantly blocking, but by learning the attacks and really getting good at parrying, so you can actually lower their defenses. Because it looked like they could defend themselves super well.
Oh yeah, they could.
There were so many attacks where it was just nothing. It was beyond just a normal Dark Souls enemy where it's okay, I just have to kick their shield to
We
get
saw
through.
a boss fight at the end, Bloodworth. It was a monk or something like that.
Yeah.
It was pretty much blocking every
cursed
single
monk.
attack they were doing, so they had
They have
to
a
break
lot.
it.
Yes,
they had to break
You
it.
have to get good at parrying.
The other part of it too goes back into the prosthetic, and so it's not just the grappling hook. You have all these other tools that are in there that you can swap between. And so one of them is shurikens that you can use to close the distance.
They have specific attacks on them. Yeah.
Yeah, and then
You can, throw
there's
them,
another
too.
that's
There's the axe.
firecrackers.
Yeah,
So
that was
you
sick.
do a wave of firecrackers to kind of blind them and stun them.
And he lit his sword on fire with that too.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah,
Like a fire buff.
that might be a different thing.
I don't know. He did something like
But,
that, and I was like, "What the hell just happened?" That was awesome.
And then there's the axe, which they specifically used to smash guys' shields.
There's guys with shields, and you use that to break their shield and get them out of the way.
Did we talk about the kick? Did I miss that?
Yeah, he said there was a kick button.
Right.
You have a kick as well.
Yeah.
Which is, again, staggers and good way to get openings.
Yeah, the one thing that we couldn't quite figure out is like whether there is a dodge or not. Some of the movement is so fluid that it looks like there's a dodge, but I couldn't really pick up on like if that's a dedicated button or if that's a more context sensitive thing. But yeah, and then some other things like somebody had asked about whether there's a souls mechanic in this, like whether like you pick up anything like that or you lose souls when you die. And they were just like, no, we're not talking about that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So
And there wasn't anything that I saw that...
The only thing that I could kind of relate to is like the subtitle of the game, Shadows Die Twice.
Right.
So in this game, the specific example they showed me was they were fighting like a mini boss. He got like power bombed on the floor and he was dead. And
you get pile driver with your
enemies
back snapping off.
de-aggro from you.
Yep.
And he resurrected while they weren't paying attention, and he got like an attack advantage.
What is this guy
on them.
called? This guy's called the Chained Barbarian.
Yeah, they were saying like specifically using this attack to like get advantage on enemies.
He really is like a pro wrestler. He does like these big jump
It
kicks
was
and
so
stuff
cool.
too.
He did a drop kick, Huber. This boss, or maybe I said drop kick. It was
And that
sick.
confuses me a little bit, Brad, that is this game easier then? That they're giving you
The
this other
guy-
opportunity?
the
There's
guy
got to
in
be
my-
some
The
catch.
guy in my demo died like 3 times.
yeah,
specifically said that this is not easier.
He died in the first encounter,
Like-
immediately.
but then what's the cost?
I don't
if
know.
I come back a
I
second
asked
time.
them. I asked them
and
that, and they
they're
would not tell me.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, so we just don't know.
Yeah,
well,
we
they
don't
did
know
say
yet.
that there's like you only get so many resurrections. Like it's like your Estus Swig type of thing that like you don't just have unlimited resurrecting.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, Estus is back in this game, by the way.
They're
It's
heals,
just,
yeah.
It's
It's
just
like
like,
a gourd.
sake, dude.
Yeah, you're
It's
drinking
awesome.
out of a gourd.
He's just like, boom.
It is just like Estes,
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, sorry. I just
ahead.
want to touch on the stealth. They specifically said like it's not heavy stealth, like focus. It's the most it's ever been. You can
It just
like
seems like it's an option.
it's like an option. You can like hide kind of a little more, and then you could get
Yeah.
like stealth kills, but it's not like
They
you're out of stealth,
specifically
you're
said
toast.
light stealth to me.
What?
They said light stealth.
Yeah, that's kind of like what
Yeah.
it is. But it's like the most we've ever had in the game from them.
One of the like bullet points or whatever, like one of the core values of this game is like a clashing of swords.
Yeah, that's why they focused a lot on the demo.
Good
with
value.
Yeah,
Do we want to talk about any story stuff?
Yeah, so I actually asked Miyazaki about
Mm-hmm.
the story, and I said specifically, hey, the Soulsborne series is well known for you kind of soaking up the narrative and the world through the environment itself, and through the enemies and things like that. And he really made a point to focus on this character specifically, and that it's about a relationship between a lord and a retainer. And the reason that they're using this Japanese setting is it feels a little bit closer to home for them. It's a little bit more relatable. And that's interesting when you take that closer to home sentiment and you have characters with their own history and personalities that they're going to be focusing on a little bit more. And they also said that it is really going to focus on Japanese legend, but
Yeah.
it is not going to necessarily be, hey, we're going to take this thing from Japanese legend and put it into the game as is. We're going to put our own spin on it. We're just using that as a
They
base.
talked about recreating the beauty of old Japan.
yeah, they
Yeah.
like, really wanted to do
But
that.
it wouldn't be from software if it wasn't
Yeah.
dark as well.
Like they
Yeah.
showed us like where the boss fight was like a really beautiful area at first. Then everything just got
Yeah.
dead and they're
The one thing we've touched on that monk boss fight a couple of times. But the one thing too there, like we talked about our resurrecting mechanic. So they took down the monk, but then all of a sudden there were like shadow versions of the monk that just like wiped them out. So
Oh, it was like it looked like another phase of the boss fight to me when they
basically that's what it is.
did that. I thought it was
but
like
I
a second
think
phase
that
and they got wrecked.
but yeah, it seems like that may be again like
But yeah, it
a
could
very
be a thing in the world
a
itself, not
core
just you.
thing to
yeah.
everybody. Also, if you remember the giant snake
Yep.
from the
showed
trailer,
the giant snake, yeah,
that
for
is going to be a big part. There's going to be big creatures like that,
Mm-hmm.
and so there's this part where you have to. You're basically the bridge is taken out, and so you're having to find a path across through these cliffs and caves. And while you're doing that, the snake starts coming around looking for you.
But that's not a boss, that's just a regular enemy.
It's not a thing that you can fight.
Yeah, we're
at
not
this
sure
point.
I
yet.
see.
Yeah.
Because I really love the idea. Let's just say you're exploring this world, you're grappling up to a place, you get over a ledge, and it's just like, oh, I have to deal with
I'm
this
not
now.
sure how it's going to work if you're just in one area or if
Right.
he kind of
You
moves around.
totally
or not.
had to like stay like in the tall grass
Yeah, he was
and
hiding,
stay
yeah.
out of
Or
sight.
yeah, you have exactly what you're saying, because thinking back to Soulsborne, when you go to an area, most of the time it's like, okay, I know these things are going to be there, and if you have this huge interconnected environment where you can get around very easily, and things appear at random or at different times of day, oh, that could be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, man. It was super hype.
It was extremely impressive.
Yeah, it looked really nice.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the
ran
best
surprisingly good. It was on a
Yeah.
PC, but like from most From Software like early things we see, it's usually a lot rougher than
Right,
this.
I agree with that.
That's a good step.
I guess I was worried from the reveal, whereas like, is this going to be Soulsborne with some twists? And seeing it in person and seeing a longer representation of it, it feels so much fresher than that.
It's like,
It really does.
on the surface level, it may seem like that at
Right.
first, but once you
Once
like
you dig in.
actually get in,
Yeah.
there's way more to it, and it's way more unique than I expected it to be.
I think it justifies its ideas very quickly.
Yes.
Yeah, two little things I want to get in there. They said you can also parry in
Yes.
a jump while you're jumping.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's pretty nuts.
Max swag points.
And then
Sekiro highlight videos.
Yeah.
I asked, you know, once you're out of resurrections, like what happens? What's the checkpoint mechanic? Is there anything like a bonfire in there? And they're just like, we're not talking about it yet.
Yeah.
We're still fine tuning
Yeah.
what that's gonna be. So
Oh, also, if anyone's wondering, you are a single character.
Yes.
You are a designed
Fixed
character.
character.
Yeah,
you're
you're
a
a ninja,
fixed
for
character.
sure.
You
You're
cannot make
not-
your own character.
Yes.
So
You were not
if you're wondering
customizing
about
the
that.
look.
Yeah, you're not picking a class or anything like that.
they also said designed to be single player. There's
Yes,
there's
they
not
said
gonna be
single player,
online
yeah.
in this one.
I would be way down for that.
Yeah, cool, great.
Brad, I specifically asked about Tenchu. I was like, I'm getting strong Tenchu vibes from this.
Many Tenchu kills, dude, off the roof, like stabbing the dude through the head. The one where you're hanging on the ledge, he like reaches up, goes, like throws the guy down, and the one where he's like hiding on the wall when that lady comes by, he's like,
It's funny though, because like when he responded to your Tenchu inspiration question, he didn't really like commit to it super hard. He was like, yeah, kind of, but you know, a lot of those Tenchu games weren't made by us; they were just published by us, and it's one of several.
So
we didn't emphasize it.
So yeah, if
very
we
much.
were to make a Tenchu game, he's like, I felt we would be like copying what they did,
Yeah.
and he's like, we want to make something wholly our own, but definitely we're inspired by that type of by that type of game. And I made a point before I left. I said, this looks better than any Tenchu game I've ever played. So thank you very much for making your own thing.
All right, Michael Huber, you ready to talk about some Resident Evil 2?
summon him.
Kill Mike's.
Joel, Mike.
Who's off? Who's on?